Our next session is called How to Travel Deeper Through Food, Finding Argentina's True Flavor. When it comes to getting the most authentic experience when traveling, Rosemary and Claire from Authentic Food Quest have their own style, and it has everything to do with food. We'll learn how to travel deeper through food no matter where we are, then we'll test our new knowledge while exploring Argentina. Rosemary Kimani and Claire Ruger are co-founders of Authentic Food Quest. Their goal is to inspire readers to travel through food and explore local flavors. They believe travelers can have deeper connections with the destination and its people by opening up to the local tastes and flavors. In 2015, they traded in their corporate jobs to eat their way around the world. Traveling slow for 6 months at a time, they explored the local flavors of Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, and Peru in South America. Their quest continued to Southeast Asia to discover the local specialties of the Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore. On their website, you will find tips on how to travel through food and explore the local flavors. They are the authors of Authentic Food Quest Argentina, a guide to eat your way authentically through Argentina. Rosemary and Claire, I am just so stoked to have you here at the summit today and to be learning more about Authentic Food Quest and really kind of talking about the role that food plays in experiencing a place and making sure that what you're experiencing really is authentic. And so learning how to travel deeper. I'm so excited.
And thank you. Yes, we're thrilled to be here, part of the summit as well too. And we want to leave the audience with a few actionable tips that they can do starting right away to experience a place deeper through food. So we're excited. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Excellent. Well, let's jump right in. So you have these beautiful Authentic Food Quest guidebooks that you've been working on, and the latest one that's out to purchase is all about Argentina. I am interested to know about what inspired you to start creating guidebooks.
Yeah, I think it'll help to understand what we do in Authentic Food Quest. And we are really about discovering and showcasing authentic dishes around the world. We started this project in 2015 as a personal quest, but it's now evolved to be so much more. And what we're doing is creating a resource platform, and we think of ourselves as a resource platform where people seeking authentic food experiences can come and learn about them. And the reason that we do this is that we believe that when you can connect through food to a place of your destinations, you can have a much deeper connection and experience in that environment. Food also allows you to reconnect with yourself through senses, to learn about yourself, and then the pleasure and joy of experiencing and exploring new flavors. So Authentic Food Quest, we're really on a mission to inspire people to travel differently and to travel through food. So in terms of starting our guide, you mentioned that we started in Argentina. Yes, that is correct. And that is because it was our first country when we left the US in August 2015. And what we've done with the guide is to highlight the local dishes that someone could find on their travels in Argentina. Think of Argentina as beef and Malbec wines, but there is so much more to the country. And so having a guide, and think of it almost like a Lonely Planet for food, we wanted to highlight all the diversity of the dishes that are found in the country and inspire people to not only take in the natural beauty, but to also eat the local culture. So having a guidebook is a natural extension of our mission at Authentic Food Quest.
Lovely.
Getting to know the cooking class in the country, or some food tours. And when we talk about Argentina, we also highlight some of the vegetarian places. So it's not all about beef and wines, but there's also a lot of vegetables that go there and that are delicious.
Lovely. Wonderful, wonderful. And we'll talk more about your Argentina guide in just a few minutes. But I am also curious to learn. You guys had just got back from a pretty extensive trip through Southeast Asia, correct?
Yes.
Lovely. I would love to hear how all that went and some things that you discovered along the way.
Sure. So in Southeast Asia, so that was your second big trip, as you know, doing our quest for authentic food. So we started in South America, 6 months in South America, came back to the US to write a guidebook. Starting again our journey in Southeast Asia, where we traveled through six countries. So we started in the Philippines, went to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Malaysia as well as Singapore.
Ooh.
And we've never been to Asia, so that was really an eye-opener to us. Through the flavors, the spices, it could be really spicy to almost sweet. Some of the curries and sour. So the Philippines, also in Cambodia, there's really some sour bitter soup. So all of this is really expanding our palate through the food, as well as the textures. There are a lot of different from the soup, from the texture of some of those preparations. We love also the unusual fruits. A lot of people know mangoes, but their mangoes are different. We have different types of mangoes, different types of bananas with different taste. Herbs, Vietnam is the country for the herbs. There's so many types that add flavor to their soup. They always add some in their dishes. So that really opened up again our palate. And it's also a country, as far as the culture, we discovered the different influence through colonizations and how also that impacted the cuisine. Some French colonization in the Philippines, you have a Spanish colonization, you have also a British. So they have a really, and in some cases, heavy story like Cambodia. And that actually also impacted the way they eat, protein intake through bugs. So that today we see that maybe more as a show off of, yes, I'm eating spiders or things like that. But at the time, it was impacted by some of the leaders there. The Khmer Rouge period that kind of destroyed part of the country. So it's really food kind of a lecture for the country and the cultures. And now they're really, bustling countries. If you go to Bangkok, it's really surrounding with street food, and it's always cooking there. When there's people, there's food. So that was really also exciting to take in also the sound. So it's really a journey for the senses. Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh man, love to have gone along with you. But you do have plans to put some guides together about the countries that you visited.
Yes. We actually we can get to that a little bit later, but yes, we do.
Great, wonderful. So, kind of getting back to the role that food plays in having an authentic experience. How does food help you, travel deeper, or find these very meaningful experiences?
Yeah, that's a great question, and really at the crux of what we're doing. And food does really connect you to a local area in a much deeper fashion. Let me give an example. Machu Picchu in Peru is one of the most visited. It's a wonder of the world, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and it receives millions of visitors every year. Now, one of the fascinating things about Machu Picchu is seeing the amazing temples built with huge rocks that no one can understand how they were able to get up the hill and build the beauty that we still see today. There are many theories behind that, and one of them is actually based on a tuber called maca, M-A-C-A. And it's a relative of the radish, so it's in that family. And maca, it's actually the only plant that grows at the highest level in the world, the highest altitude level. And what it does is it gives you strength, it gives you energy, it helps repair your body. It helps repair your body. So if you're a man, and it gives you strength. If you're a woman, it helps with estrogen. And so it's called an adaptive. But anyway, it's a very popular root, and you can have it as a drink in a powder format. So what happened is that when we were in Machu Picchu, of course, admiring the natural beauty, we were looking. Our reason for being there was to really understand the local foods, and we took the advantage of being there to go up to Machu Picchu and to experience that. And that's when we discovered about maca. Maca is available at the local market in San Pedro Market, which is the major market in Cusco. And when we were there, we got a chance to taste it, experience it for ourselves, see the number of different maca roots and varieties. There's red, there's yellow for women, there's black for men. I mean, it was amazing to not only have the understanding of what it's like to be at Machu Picchu and to see those huge boulders and rocks being moved, and then to actually taste one of the products that's attributed to giving them strength, and not only for building Machu Picchu, but also for conquering the different groups that they conquered while they were the leaders at the time. So what food helps you do is see that place from a different perspective. Admire the beauty of the place, but also eat and understand, some of the ingredients for that place. Food also helps you connect with the locals. It's an opportunity to share stories, and we'll get to a story here or two that we want to talk about. It also stretches you. It gets you out of your comfort zone. So many times people eat particular sets of meals, but when you're encountered in a new place with new flavors and new tastes and new textures, it forces you to get out of that comfort zone. And what it really does is that it pushes you, like in life, you get comfortable, you try something new, you step out a little bit. And in life, it allows you to also go beyond what you're comfortable with. And so you grow, you stretch, and in a sense, you become transformed. You become someone different by allowing yourself, so giving yourself permission to try something new, to experience a new taste, and to open up to new flavors. If you want to give an example, one example, I think you want to start with Vietnam.
Yes, I mean, as we were just mentioning, we returned from Southeast Asia, and when we landed in Vietnam, we started through visiting the country from north to south, so through the capital in Hanoi. And there we knew we needed to try their dessert, and it's called Che. I mean, we would say Che, but they really pronounce it like K. And we were just walking through the streets. They do a lot of those houses where they cook and they sell the food, or the little street vendors. So that's a way to find where the local food is. And we stumbled on one night at the dinner on this little lady who was selling a street vendor selling this tea, and she had like a menu side. And we approached her. She could not really understand what we were asking for. We wanted to have a sense of how to order. And there was a lady who was behind us who helped us out to understand what was the typical one, how to have it. And in Hanoi they have it warm because there it's a cooler part of the country where it gets it was like the winter season. So it's a sweet soup, basically, Che, and it's usually made with coconut and some different ingredients that you pick from a cart, from corn to some dry fruit. So there's different elements you can add to your own sweet soup.
Okay.
And that's how we connected with the ladies, and actually she was with her husband as well. And that dessert on the street on those little stools that they have in Vietnam. And through our journey in Vietnam, we always sought the next desserts. What is the next che that exists in that region? Through the central region of Vietnam, we grow a special corn in the region, from the Canam region. So we had that in Hoi An, which is really a lovely city to visit, where they have a special che, I forgot the name, che bap, yes, which is made with that corn and again a soup. That time was served to us icy, with ice. as that region was warmer. And as we then traveled through Vietnam, we discovered also a soup that was like black, like asphalt almost.
Oh.
And it was made with sesame, and they served it warm. And that was again in the streets. We saw that sign, something like the gal. I'm not sure how to say it. And it's basically a black sweet soup that you're wondering if, the texture is really different. The sight of this black uh, liquid is not that tempting. Once you try it, it's really delicious. It's sweet, but not overly sweet, and it's really tasty with that sesame light, almost nutty flavor. And that's how we discovered some of those desserts through the country, through what the region produced in Vietnam. So that was an experience.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had a similar experience in Argentina as well too, traveling through the country through empanadas. Now, empanadas is something many people know, but in Argentina, they're really a national symbol of the country, and the way that they're prepared differs. So there are two big regions that are really known for their empanadas: Tucumán and Salta provinces. And in each of these provinces, they make them differently. Every year, they're competing as to which is the national province. The best empanadas come from which province. So every year, there's a competition on that. And so we, fell in love with them in Buenos Aires. And as we traveled through Argentina, we certainly made a stop in Salta. And that was one of our big purposes, was to go explore the different kinds of empanadas. And I remember one time we were sitting at a local eatery, sitting outside, and the lady brings us the menu. There were 14 different kinds of empanada. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then on our way back to Buenos Aires, we were traveling through the local bus. We deliberately made a stop in Tucumán to taste the Tucumán version of empanadas, and they make them differently with what they put inside. And in Tucumán, they add eggs, and they also have a specialty with mondongo, which is tripe. And so I remember we were sitting at the restaurant, and we're like, okay, we're here, we gotta taste it. So there were like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different empanadas on the menu. We said we'll have one of each. Not really knowing what mondongo was, but suspicious that it was not something we would like. And true, we did not like it. But it was a specialty from the area, and it was, a way to really appreciate and understand the culture behind the empanadas that are so popular. Tucumán also has what they call a ruta de empanada, which is empanada route, where there are different stops that you go through as a visitor to the region, and all you do is stop around and you drink, as opposed to drinking wine, you're tasting empanadas. Throughout this experience with traveling through empanadas in the country, we learned that there is a technique, there is a way to eat empanadas. And the first thing is you don't use a fork and knife. That's the number one thing. Use your hand.
Okay.
Yes. Number 2, nothing should fall on your plate. Now this is challenging because the empanadas are made in a clay oven, and when they're served hot. Oh. So when you say that nothing should fall on your plate, it's actually quite tricky because you want it when it's hot, but it is, it's hot and you're trying to eat everything at the same time. So,
Juicy.
Yes. Oh. And then because they're cooked in a clay oven, they must have, there's a little bubbling on the top of the empanada. So that's the third criteria for eating a good empanada in Argentina. So you can taste the food when you get there, but when you understand the different layers underneath that, you have a deeper appreciation of the place, of the food, and the people behind the food.
Wonderful. I could probably say with certainty that the empanada route is going to be my favorite food experience on my list.
Yeah.
You're so
Yes,
good.
but it's not out there with the wine, in Mendoza as well. They also have their wine routes as well. So,
Oh, yum. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing all those wonderful examples. Um, I guess kind of getting into the idea of trying some of these new foods. A lot of viewers might be, might have more sensitive stomachs. I mean, I am one of those people where I can usually depend on having some kind of stomach issue when I travel. Are there some tips and tricks that you have for kind of, yeah, either preparing for these things or handling stomach aches when they happen?
yes, yes, yes. I think the first. I can start. The first thing is you want to go with an open mind. You're leaving home. You've made the time to go experience something new. So in terms of food, allow yourself that opportunity to open up as well too, and to be and to be open to what comes to you in terms of food. So that's the very first thing. Be open and also be curious as well. Once you get to the area,
I think one of the, I would say, easiest way, but again, you need to have that mindset of being open, is to go visit the local markets. That's where you would find what's in season. You would find different vendors, and it's a way to sample different specialties. So sometimes we ask people about some fruits that we've never seen before, and some vendors will be open and let us taste, cutting us some samples. We've done that recently in Malaysia. We've done that in South America. They also sometimes let us try some dishes. That happened to us in Thailand. There's some desserts they will cut out just for us. So it's really a way to be able to pick here and there, and go also first maybe just to see if you're not ready yet to try. But so that's a great way to see what's local, and really enjoy kind of the scenery and take things in.
Yeah, great,
and
great
then
advice. Great.
many people when they travel go to museums. What we would recommend is seeing the local stores as food museums. So, as you would browse and look at paintings and read about them, have that same behavior at a local food market. Walk down the aisles, see the different kinds of produce, the different kinds of coffee. If you're a coffee drinker, look at what's there. Just walk by and see what's on display. When we were in Argentina, to give an example, I remember the grocery stores would have aisles and aisles of dulce de leche, which is a sweet cream it's very popular in Argentina and absolutely delicious. But when you walk into the store, you just see all these aisles. Mate is another product. It's a tea, yerba mate, that's very popular in South America, especially Argentina and Uruguay. Yeah, and you'd find aisles and aisles of mate. So just like in our grocery stores here, for example, in the U.S., you might find the cereal aisle to be really overwhelming. If you're in the food market, the food store, and you're walking around and seeing it, you get to. It's an easy way to see what's local, what's being celebrated locally. Sometimes, like in grocery stores here, they might have a special aisle that says, here are the seasonal products, or here are the ones from this region. So it also gives you a chance to see what's there.
Yes, and for example, in the Philippines, there would be aisle of dry mangoes. So that's also a great way to bring it back home, because you could have little packets of mangoes, and those are delicious.
Oh, yeah.
They are different species that you can find here. Here they come either from Mexico, I don't know where else, but they're not exactly the same. So there you get to sample them from the store, and you can also bring some gift back easily. Those are very popular dry fruits.
Lovely. Great. So those are really great ideas for finding fresh, authentic food. Most likely food that isn't going to upset your stomach, being so fresh. Do you have any tips for, if you do eat something that does upset your stomach, what do you ladies do if that happens?
So I have to say we've been lucky
Yes.
through
That's good.
a month of travel, either through South America or Southeast Asia. We actually not being like sick really. The only experience I can think of is maybe in Cusco. We went to a local market in Chinchero. It's not far from Cusco, and they had some salad, so we had that, and we think that might be linked to that, where our stomach were slightly upset, but nothing major. We ate ceviche from the street. We ate street food in Asia. I mean, whichever street food you name it, we tried it. We've been, doing fine. I think there's one thing actually we use for stomach is called activated charcoal, and they're sold by pills. They're like black pills, the charcoal black color, and they're used for food poisoning. So they help to attract the poison and just eliminate it. And so we use that more preventatively. So we use it usually it's outside of a meal. So if we feel like we're going in a suspicious place, we might take it before we go to the meal, or if after a meal we don't feel that great, we'll take it after. And it's been working fine for us.
Yeah, I mean, we'd also say having a hand sanitizer is a little thing that you want to have with you, and regularly use it wherever you might be, just to keep yourself clean as well, so you don't make that transference of germs.
As far as the germ piece, or like when we use utensils from restaurants and we're not sure they're clean or not, we have our own. So we always carry a spork with us, which is a combination of a fork and a spoon. So we always have that. Is also handy if you want to sample something on the market. So that's one tool that we use.
Then when it comes to water, one of our partners, and thank you for introducing us to them, was Grail, where they make a portable water filter system and purifier. So it's easy to carry, and then for yourself in a glass, you can pump our own water. So that's been something that we use a lot, especially in Southeast Asia, given the high temperatures. So that's also another way to keep safe. And then when it comes to the food itself, at the local markets, as we talked, it's a great place to explore the food. Find the foods that have skin on them. So if it's fruit, make sure that you're sampling something with skin that's not been sitting out. As Claire mentioned earlier, hot dishes, cooked vegetables. Those are good tips.
When it comes to street food, look out. What the great thing about street food is you see what the vendor is cooking right there, so you can look like the kitchen is there.
Is it really cooked? You can see right there, right?
What's the level of hygiene around that little cart? And really looking also, is there people there? Are people either stopping to take away? Are they there sitting around, and is there a line? In some cases, if there's elderly or children, that's also a great sign, because those are more prone to getting some microbes. So it's a way to identify where is the best place to go eat the local food.
And then as much as you can, while you're observing the kitchen right in front of you, see how the money is being handled as well. In South America, one thing we noticed is there would be people handling the food, then there would be separate people handling the money. Rarely was it the same person. On the other hand, in Southeast Asia, it was sometimes the same person, sometimes. So you want to watch how they are handling the money. Are they wiping their hands in between cooking and getting paid? So you want to that will also help. You're going to keep an eye on that as well too. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Lots of good suggestions. Excellent. Excellent. So kind of getting back to Argentina. You mentioned earlier that it was one of the first trips that you took, thinking maybe having a guide in mind. Tell me a little bit more about why Argentina to start with for a full guide.
Well, Argentina was our first country, and we spent over 3 months traveling through the entire country. And our mission at Authentic Food Quest is to highlight the local specialties so that people know how to travel through food, what the local flavors are, what they should not miss on their travels. And so as we were traveling through Argentina, it was apparently clear almost from the get-go that there is more than Malbec and beef. Then the question became, what else is it? All these other specialties. So in fact, the journey that we took through traveling through Argentina was curated for us by the locals that we met, by the experts that we talked to, people guiding us on where are the places we should not miss for food. Where would you recommend? So it started with our hosts. We were staying locally with Airbnb, and they, our hosts one of the partners, it's a husband-wife couple. The husband comes from the north of Argentina, and he, for him, we could not miss the north of Argentina, and we heard that multiple times as well too. So we took that advice. We met with the top chef, Francis Malman, in Buenos Aires, who also gave us his opinion as to where are the food spots to hit in Argentina. We spent time talking to locals who were always telling us, where to go. And 4 regions kept coming up. The north of Argentina, certainly. Patagonia and Ushuaia, all the way down to taste the seafood. So that was also another region that came up. And then Mendoza and the wine regions as well kept coming up. So the book really takes a journey through each of those areas, and at each step or in each region, talking about what the local dishes are, markets to visit, and certainly, what not to miss as well too. If there are festivals that happen, we note them. So, for example, the Ruta de Empanada in Tucumán is, clearly noted there. So it's about when you go there, go experience the natural beauty, enjoy your time there, but eat local as well too.
We also have, cooking classes if someone wants to really experience the cuisine and maybe recreate it at home, so they can take some cooking classes locally. And we also highlight some food tours. Someone who doesn't have much time or wants like a first overview of what it has to offer, what the country has to offer, they can also take some food tour that we highlight in the guidebook.
Great. Wonderful. So you kind of mentioned this and trying to find the local perspective when you're highlighting these foods, and obviously trying to create anything that represents a country's entire culinary milieu is something that really can't be done. But I think you did such a wonderful job of kind of highlighting the cuisine not to miss when you go to these various places. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that process was like, making sure that you found things that really did represent the country from your perspective?
An amazing experience. It was a lot of fun because it really, when you're talking about food and you're connecting with locals, you share immediately a language, you bond immediately together, and having that experience throughout Argentina and also throughout the many other countries we visited as well was absolutely wonderful. I remember a story when we were in Mendoza, and we had just talked to a chef from Mendoza who gave us her opinion on what are the dishes not to miss in Mendoza. And one of them is called tomatica. And it's a soup, it's a tomato-based soup. And it's a very traditional soup, but it's a kind of soup that's eaten at home. So it's not something that you would find at restaurants. But given that it was local to the region, and why it's tomato, actually, I think that's an important point. In the Andes, where Mendoza is situated, tomatoes grow at very high altitude, so it's very hot at night, and it's very hot during the day and very cool during the night. And that difference in temperature is good for the grapes, but with the tomatoes, it makes them extra sweet. So the tomatoes in Mendoza are actually renowned for that. So back to the tomato-based soup, tomatican. So when she told us about it, and she didn't make it at that time at that restaurant, it was not the season for it. And so we said, wow, where should we go find this food, this tomatican soup? We went to the local market in Mendoza. We asked around, no one had it. We went from vendor to vendor, where can we find it? No one had it. And someone pointed us to a little vegetarian restaurant up the street from the market. And so we were walking around. It wasn't quite lunchtime yet. We were looking to find it and then come back and have lunch and eat it. So we stopped at the little vegetarian restaurant, and they were just opening. I think it might have been 11 o'clock or something. And we walked in, and we talked to the chef, the different cooks there, and we asked, "Do you have tomatican on the menu?" And they said no. And so we were like, okay, we explained what we were doing, our quest for authentic food, and they said, no, they don't make it. But, we liked what we saw on the syrup, and so we said we'd come back after lunch. So fast forward my story to, we come back about an hour or two later, they have made tomatican for us.
Oh.
And so that was, incredible. It was something that they did for us. We never asked, but they were so honored that we wanted to understand their local dish that they made it for us. And so when you ask the question, what was it like, I guess, writing, going through this process, there was the exploration process and the discovery, which was filled with multiple stories of connecting with locals. And then the actual journey of writing the book was a different journey as well, too. That was, I think, it was fun to relive the experiences, because we wrote that book when we came back to the U.S. So 6 months later, 6-7 months later, we were writing the book, and so it was all about focusing, remembering, reliving the experiences, and being really focused and putting the book together. So that was a fun experience, but a different kind of experience than the exploring experience.
I can imagine. Great. So, kind of talking to travelers and viewers, if they want to start learning maybe about the culinary experiences before they travel, Authentic Food Quest is a great resource for people for people to go and learn a little bit more about the culture that they might be visiting. But what are some other good resources for learning some of that stuff before you go?
So the way we do it is, we research as much as we can ahead of time. And I think one resource that's easy for travelers to look at is Wikipedia. And they always, most of the time, they have the cuisine from, so one of our last countries was Cambodia. You will find Cambodian cuisine, Argentinian cuisine, and in there, there will be some highlights about what are the special dishes, for meals, spices, to some desserts sometimes. So it's more or less documented, more or less accurate, but that gives an overall picture. And as people research for their arrangement, lodging, flights, and so on, that could be a nice way to also ease into the culture, get to know the food from there. There's some
I think I would say even before, while they're still in the research phase, depending on where they live and what's available, if there is, for example, Argentina, if there is an Argentinian restaurant in their area, go there for a meal. Or if you're going to Vietnam, find the Vietnamese restaurant in your area, go there for a meal, and have an experience and a sense of what the food might be like. You could also ask the staff at that restaurant, and just to tell, and get a sense. And so when you go, then that will also get you a little bit prepared ahead of time.
The food might be different, but what you'll get, there. But it's the first overall sense, yes. Yeah. What are the dishes? And as far as a bit of a research pieces, if you had some guidebooks, so in some guidebooks there's some highlights on some of the dishes, might not be complete, but that also again is a great start to understanding the food culture in a place.
And then I think we will say, we as you mentioned, thank you, Claire, that yes, Authentic Food Quest is a good resource. But we have countries for South America and Southeast Asia, And so one of the things that we're developing for people traveling specifically to those two continents is food trails, customized food trails, where we can, so it's not a book, it's not a complete book, but it's a smaller booklet with a map, top dishes not to miss, customized for that trip, for that person's trip. So that's something as well too that we can help the people listening and watching this video in terms of going to South America or Southeast Asia specifically. For now.
Cool. So would you customize for each individual person? So like if they reached out to you and said, "Hey, I'm going to this part of Singapore. Do you have suggestions of places that we should go?" So would you? Is that something that you would do for them, or have you pre-made the trails and people can pick and choose depending on where they're traveling to?
It's the idea is have more like a profile regarding the profile of travelers. If they're more adventurous versus someone that might look more for like a restaurant, maybe even fine dining.
Okay.
We'll offer different options that way. So they would have some information about what not to miss, and then where to have those dishes, and maybe where to explore some of those markets, food stores, in addition to a map that will give them the exact location of those places.
Wonderful. Wow, that's very exciting. Great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers before we head on to our next session?
I think the one thing that I would say is, traveling through food is really a new way of traveling, and it's a new way to appreciate the place, to see the place from a different set of lenses, to taste the culture, to embrace the entire experience. And I believe that you will find that your trip will be much richer and your experience much more fulfilling once you've seen the sights and drank the maca. We talked about in Machu Picchu that the Incas did drink, and then you have I don't know, it's a great way to travel, and I think something would encourage more and more people to put that forefront on their travels, not secondary when they get there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even when you learn, Grandma's story about how she learned how to make her her famous cookies. When you're young, you maybe haven't heard that story before. It's like, cookies, yay! But then as soon as you learn her story and you learn like the love and the history behind those cookies, they mean so much more, and suddenly you want that to also be a part of your life. And when you make those cookies, you want to share that with your eaters, the people at your table as well. And so I feel like that's something that is very important for traveling and even in your own hometown. Learning some of that history behind the food that you're eating.
Right. We always say, you can eat local and explore local flavors, regarding of the distance you travel. Regardless. Sorry.
Lovely. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today, and I feel like I learned so much from your experiences and for sharing with us, and I am really excited to see what happens next with Authentic Food Quest.
Thank you so much, Claire. We really appreciate the opportunity to share our story as well. This is exciting.
Wonderful.